All right, and welcome into the Fantasy Pros Fantasy Football Podcast. It's week 11 of the NFL season, and if your teams are looking anything like mine, you could use some help. So pull up a stool for the primer episode where we'll give you our top 6 fantasy football sleeper starts with matchups to exploit. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, and heading into the weekend alongside a man who has already started the Clint Kubiak to New York Giants petition, campaign manager, Derek Brown. Debro, how are you after a busy week out there on the trail?
Oh, man. I mean, it's all the things and stuff this time of year. It's crunch time, dude. We got people. The injuries are still a huge part of the landscape, as well as all these matchups and deep plays, man. And we got a lot of really good options this week where some players might still be out on the waiver wire in some leagues, especially shower leagues. And there's some upside to be had for all these plays.
Absolutely. This is one of my favorite episodes of the week to record because alongside with you, I feel like I gained some knowledge. And every single week, I'm trying to scrap together lives with all the injury bites that we've taken this year. And so I'm excited to see what you have for us today. And before we jump in, shout out to all of our friends joining us either on the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel or the audio feed. Thank you so much for all the support this season. It's been wonderful. Please do us a quick favor and give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel if you're new. Help us get over 300,000 subscribers. We really appreciate that. Also, if you want a chance to win a signed Justin Jefferson Minnesota Vikings jersey for free, courtesy of our friends over at pristineauction.com, all you need to do is head to fantasypros.com/contest, complete the form, and either A, download the free Fantasy Pros app, B, leave a review for the Fantasy Pros Fantasy Football Podcast, or C, follow us on X, Instagram, or TikTok. We are at Fantasy Pros. The more actions you complete, the more entries you're going to receive, and we will announce a winner right here on the podcast near the beginning of next month. So if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, turn on the notifications so you could be alerted when new episodes drop, and you can claim your prize if you are that one lucky winner. And Derek, speaking of being lucky, you're thinking you're going to get lucky out there with a quarterback who's been a bit up and down this season, but he's in a matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs that you like.
Yeah, the Caleb Williams of Denver. Yeah. And I think it's going to be more of a boom game this week, and people could be surprised by that.
Yeah.
Considering looking at Bo Nix is going to face the Kansas City Chiefs. And I know KC is not a pushover defense, but to the point here, him being QB 20 in ECR is too low. I think he's a very strong play this week. And really it comes down to like when Denver is pushed and they have to put up points, KC's going to do that. And the matchup has been there. Bo Nix has performed for us. And I think he could do it this week. And I think the thing that's going to go underreported here is that since week 6, Kansas City's defense, their pass defense, has taken a step back, Seth. Like this pass defense since week 6 is 15th, so middle of the road in yards per attempt allowed. They're giving up the 4th highest CPOE and the 12th highest success rate per dropback, all while ranking bottom of the basement, second lowest pressure rate during that sample. So, I mean, how do you want to dice this up? The pass defense has taken a step back. It's actually a really good matchup for both their wide receivers on the outside. And Bo Nix is probably going to be staring at clean pockets for most of this game in a game where Patrick Mahomes and company on the other side are going to force them to put up points. I think Bo Nix is sneakily a top 12 quarterback this week. And I don't think you're going to hear a lot of that because it's been such a roller coaster for him all season. And people see Steve Spagnuolo and the Kansas City Chiefs defense and they say, oh no, we're going to get bad Bo this week. But I actually think we could get good Bo.
It's super interesting because just at the pace that Denver plays, being one of the slowest paced teams in the NFL, I would have not thought that Bo Nix is currently second in pass attempts, second in deep ball attempts as well. Also, he's 8th in rush red zone attempts. So this guy has been slinging it around. And while he also has some of those interceptable passes, right? He has 12 of those. That's the 6th most among the position. He also is 5th in passing touchdowns as well. So the guy's been out there running around, making plays. So I don't hate him here in a spot against the Chiefs where you're expecting a lot of Rashee Rice, I think, on the other side for Kansas City and them to get up early here. And Bo Nix, if he can continue to do it, it seems like these are the matchups, though, Derek, where they have to throw and get out of that comfortability where they're just feeding J.K. Dobbins in the second half.
Oh, absolutely. Because, again, and to your point, J.K. Dobbins is not going to be in this game. So, you know, I do think a big boost to R.J. Harvey. But I think if you're going to keep pace with Kansas City in the matchup to exploit and what Sean Payton's been doing every single freaking week, regardless of matchups, is feeding the passing game. But this is a good opportunity, sneakily a good opportunity for Denver to do that this week.
Yeah, and I think having two reliable wide receivers right now, I saw a lot of debate on Twitter and the internet as a whole last week. Who do you prefer rest of the season, Sutton or Troy Franklin? So I think just the fact that we're having that conversation, though, it means something for Bo Nix and his upside moving forward. So
yeah, I agree with that. And to your point, I do think that Sutton makes. I think I've seen a lot of the same things on social media, and we're not talking about Troy Franklin or Sutton on this show, but I do think Sutton has a really big game this week and reaffirms himself as the wide receiver one in that passing offense.
Okay, let's go to the wide receiver position here, Derek, where you have a couple of starters that we should be considering. One starting out there in Green Bay with them on the road here against the Giants.
Yeah, so again, peeling back the curtain, no running backs on this episode. Running back position is god-awful. It's split backfields. It's bad matchups. It's a lot of, once you get outside the top 12 to 15 running backs, it's
Cross
a whole
your
lot
fingers,
of,
baby.
What are we doing here? So no running backs here, but there are a lot of wide receivers with matchups to exploit. One of them being the New York Giants secondary this week, and Christian Watson, dude. And being wide receiver 39 in ECR, a little bit of respect on his name, but I'm going to have him higher and stay above ECR this week because the role that Watson has played in the Packers offense, he's basically been Green Bay's Kayshon Boutte, except he hasn't had the big monster game or the hot streak with the touchdowns and run hot. I think that can happen, and the start of that can happen. If you already listened to the waiver wire episode earlier this week, go back and tune into that. You can hear my full thoughts about the rest of the season outlook for Christian Watson. It is strong, and it starts this week, dude. Because if you look at it, Christian Watson's role in this offense since he returned, 50% of his targets, so half of his 12 targets, have been of the downfield variety. He has a 25.8 ADOT. So when he's targeted, it is down the field.
Yeah.
We should love that, though, because if he hits, if he secures those targets, we're talking about high leverage, high ceiling potential from the flex position, and just because we haven't seen it yet doesn't mean that we can't get it, and especially versus this secondary. Like, Seth, this secondary for the Giants has given up the 5th most deep passing yards per game and the 11th highest passer rating to downfield shots. And since week 6, versus perimeter wide receivers, the 7th most PPR points per target and the 7th most receiving yards per game. So whether you want to talk about coverage matchup, his role in the offense, the secondary he's going against this week, as well as Romeo Doubs is not fully healthy. Matthew Golden is not fully healthy. Jayden Reed is not going to be back. So, I mean, grab all the boxes, Seth. Check. It all points back to Christian Watson possibly having a big game this week as a flex play.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you is, if those receivers are all active, let's say Wicks is back out there, let's say Dobbs is out there, and let's also say Matthew Golden gets up for this one. Do you feel any differently about Christian Watson or full send still? Okay.
No, because his role is agnostic of all of those players. Like Dobbs and him are not playing the same role. Him and Matthew Golden are not playing the same role. None of those players are playing the same role as Christian Watson. And the guy that is definitively the two guys in that offense that are getting the route share, and when they're in 2 wide receiver looks that are out on the field right now, are Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson. So I think his role is agnostic of all those other players, and we know what that role is, and that role is going to be very fruitful this week and the weeks to come.
Yeah, right now, averaging over 100 air yards per game is Christian Watson. Limited sample size, but still really like what he's been doing out there. And you would have to think, right, that with Jameis Winston out there slinging the ball around for the Giants, maybe there's some short fields he can take advantage of, maybe some opportunistic points to cash in and get 6 for both the Packers and your fantasy football team. Derek, let's stay at the wide receiver position. And I'm actually a bit surprised by this call because it's a receiver that last week you were pretty dismissive of on one of our live streams.
Dude, I'm going with Tyler Lockett here. And I think with Tyler Lockett, it comes down to it took him 1 game as a full-time player in the Raiders passing attack to usurp Trey Tucker and everybody's love of Trey Tucker and chasing the one outlier game. And Pat and I told you on the waiver wire episode after he popped off at that big game, do not chase this. Do not burn your fab. Do not invest in Trey Tucker. And that has been a wise, sage piece of advice since we've seen that. And Tyler Lockett, for everybody at home, last week, hopped Trey Tucker, doubled him in target share, had a 22.2% target share, 1.9 yards per route run, and a 21% first read share. So looking at this matchup, whether you want to talk about, okay, let's play the matchup, let's play the emerging target share, let's play the guy that Geno is going to lean on as the number 2 in this passing attack with that rapport behind Brock Bowers. And also, let's play the total. Seth, the only game, unless I'm wrong right now, the only game with a 50 or higher total on this entire slate, so let's bank into scoring potential. Tyler Lockett is a strong flex play, dude. Like, wide receiver 48 in ECR? Heck no, dude. I'm going to have him as a wide receiver 3 in my rankings this week. And I think it's a strong play, dude, against, again, since week 6, Dallas Cowboys secondary has not gotten any better, man. They're giving up the second most PPR points per target and the second highest pass rating when targeted to opposing slot wide receivers. So Tyler Lockett, again, much like Watson, just checking a lot of boxes, man, that I'll look for.
Yeah, I think his prop last week for receptions was over under 1.5, and you hit the over very clearly if you went after him, and it's super interesting too. What do you think as far as snap shares we're looking at? Do you think he overtakes Thornton? Because last week Thornton ran 62% of snaps, Tyler Lockett 57%, Jack Besh, that is 23%, with Trey Tucker out there for every single snap.
So with the snap shares get kind of wonky. I don't look at snap shares. I look at route shares. Because snap shares can lie to you because they'll have certain guys in there that'll play more snaps and they're in there to run block.
Good point.
Versus what I care about is, and I think that what people should be looking at is route shares. Okay. Because, are you scoring any fantasy points per pancake block? No, nobody is. So nobody cares about what you're doing. And that's something that I pointed out with Troy Franklin. Everybody's like, well, he's not a full-time player. In the passing game, he's almost a full-time player. And that's the only thing we care about. I don't care if you're out there pass blocking. I don't care if you're out there run blocking. What I care is if when they're throwing the freaking ball, are you running routes? Tyler Lockett was doing that last week. I mean, he had so last week he had a 65.7% route share.
Wow, okay.
So I think that probably climbs into probably the mid-70s this week, maybe even higher. We'll see.
Tyler Lockett, Geno Smith, Pete Carroll, the 3 best friends that anyone could have, baby. That's for dang sure right there.
Oh, the unfortunate wolf pack that could pay off this week?
Maybe. Just maybe. And one thing I do not have a question about is going over and dominating your fantasy football league with Fantasy Pros Premium, now available for free for 6 months. All you have to do is deposit and place your first wager at any of our partner sportsbooks, including Hard Rock Bet, baby. This is the easiest free way to get full access to our top fantasy football tools all season long. Just go to fantasypros.com/premium to get yourself started. And Derek, you are warming my heart here with your next play at the wide receiver position, one of my own Pittsburgh Steelers.
I am, dude. And this just comes down to, I think we're looking at Calvin Austin can have, I'm not going to say a boom game because you got to keep it in the context of this passing offense. Sure. I think what you're looking at for him is a strong flex game. Like 4 for 40 and he gets a touchdown, then you should be happy with that type of stat line. Like that's, dude, if he ends up with that, that's 14 points in PPR land, and that's probably somewhere in the high-end wide receiver 3, low-end wide receiver 2 type of ilk, and Calvin Austin could pay that off this week, man. Like, he's already got 3 other weekly finishes inside the top 36 wide receivers this season. Wide receiver 16, 31, and 35. He's got a 16.5% target share. I think that could bump maybe into the 20% range, because if you look at the matchup, he didn't play last time that the Cincinnati Bengals faced the Pittsburgh Steelers. He had a shoulder issue. But what do we see the last time these two teams did match up was the fact that DJ Turner shadowed DK Metcalf and shut him down. And I think that happens again this week. So we're looking at, everybody's playing the game of, which Pittsburgh Steelers tight end do I flex or stream this week?
Yeah.
When the answer should be probably none of them, and you just play Calvin Austin. While everybody's chasing which Steelers tight end to play, why don't you just play and flex the guy that's a full-time player in the offense, that we're not worried about his route share, that we're not worried about his standing in the passing game? And if DK Metcalf does get shadowed, which is how I'm projecting it, you're facing Calvin Austin is going to be running a lot of, if not all of his routes against Cam Taylor-Britt and Dax Hill, who those two corners this year, Taylor-Britt has given up a 66.7% catch rate and a 133 passer rating in his coverage. Dax Hill, even worse, dude. 77.8% catch rate, 113 passer rating in his coverage. So all roads lead back to Calvin Austin having a strong flex week.
The Memphis legend, baby. I like this play a lot, specifically because we're seeing Austin work out from the flanker in 2 wide sets and also coming into the slot in the 3 wide sets. And we just saw something similar last week with Olamide Zacchaeus coming in and out of the slot. He went for 6 for 58 and 1. So I think maybe we see something similar for Calvin Austin in this one. So I'm here for it. I think Aaron Rodgers actually has a little bit of juice in this matchup as well. I don't think he's a terrible streamer if you want to go that way. So, Derek, one more wide receiver for you, and it's a guy that both you and I were very high on to begin the season. It didn't come to fruition, but now it might be starting to, at least with big neck Davis Mills at quarterback.
Dude, I just want Nick Caley to get out of their way, man. I'm tired of this freaking ridiculous, idiotic usage of these Houston wide receivers. Like,
it's unreal.
Why in week 10 did Xavier Hutchinson get a 51% route share just to run wind sprints and not earn a single freaking target?
None.
Like, I'm over it, man. Like, you drafted all these guys to add juice and electricity to your passing attack, and then all you did was lump these veterans on top of them and throw them into a wide receiver committee approach behind Nico Collins. It's absolutely just moronic. Like, I don't understand it. And I'm hoping that this might be the week that we get Jayden Higgins into a 70-75% route share, even if it doesn't happen and he's still in this part-time route share. Like last week, 49% of routes, which is blasphemous. Jayden Higgins still earned a 15.6% target share. He was targeted on 29% of his routes last week. When he's on the freaking field, he's getting featured because guess what? He's hashtag good at football, dude. And so it's the matchup, it's the talent that I'm going to point back to. Is there worry and risk here? Yes, I'll own that. It's risk with the route share. It's risk with the game script. Because if Houston goes out and they just absolutely stomp the Titans this week and don't have to throw the ball that much, then Jayden Higgins fails. So there is risk here, but there's also some upside to be had because there is a door that has not been left open, but could get kicked open by Jayden Higgins this week where his route share goes up. The matchup is there. And since week 6, the Titans have given up the 5th most receiving yards per game and the 2nd most PPR points per target to perimeter wide receivers. So we want to talk about talent. We want to talk about upside, the routes if they go up, much less Higgins got high leverage usage last week when he was on the field. Like, the dude ran 49% of the routes, Seth, and still got 2 red zone targets and a deep target last week.
Jeez.
So just feature the best players on your freaking depth chart that help you now and moving forward. Get Christian Kirk out of here. Get Xavier Hutchinson out of here. Forget it with Braxton Berrios and whoever the heck you want to toss out there. Play Jayden Higgins, Jalen Knoll, and watch this Houston passing attack flourish. Because it will if Nick Caley will stop being Nick Caley.
Yeah, and I think we know Nico Collins is the one in this offense. We talked about it last week. I still think Dalton Schultz is very much the number 2 options. Specifically, I mean, Dougie Mills was looking his way all game. I had the over 3.5 prop on Schultz last week. He crushed that. Wasn't even a sweater, so that was great. But as you mentioned, man, Higgins feels like he's starting to creep into this, third option in the offense, at least through the passing game. And 2 red zone looks. I like that compared to everyone else who we saw 1 for Knoll, we saw 1 for Christian Kirk, 6 for Nico Collins. I don't think we're going to see that type of volume here. And I agree with you. The one downside to Higgins in general, and a lot of these Texans pass catchers are just the fact, hey, maybe they go out and they don't need to use them against Tennessee, but with Davis Mills at quarterback, I think there's a chance they might, right? Because Davis Mills also known to potentially turn the ball over a time or two. So let's go.
That risk is also priced into where he's at wide receiver 60 in ECR. I'm going to have him as 60. I'm going to have him as a wide receiver 4 in my rankings when it's all said and done, because and maybe a little bit higher depending on other injuries and stuff like that, because the upside definitively is here.
Yes. I agree with you there. And you also have a play here in the international game where you have to wake up a little early to see it, but you like Zach Ertz against Miami Dolphins.
I do, man. So tight end 16 in ECR, I understand it. He's tight end 16 in fantasy points per game for the season. But we have seen out of Zach Ertz when the matchup is right that he can pop off. He does have 2 tight end 1 finishes of the season. He has garnered a 17.3% target share. No Terry McLaurin in this game. the passing attack is going to be Zach Ertz, and it's going to be Deebo Samuel this week. And the matchup is fantastic for Ertz. Like, Miami's been bleeding out production to tight ends the entire freaking season, and I don't think that stops this week, man. Like, I think Zach Ertz is a tight end 1. I think he's a streamer. I think people should play him confidently as a tight end 1 this week, just based off of everybody else. Like, again, 2 players we talked about last week. I told you to get him into your lineups as flex plays or streaming options with Dalton Schultz and Cade Otton. Now everybody this week is like, oh, Dalton Schultz and Cade Otton. Bro, you missed the boat. Cade Otton and Dalton Schultz have bottom 5 matchups this week. You don't need to be chasing. You are going to get yourself caught behind the curve if you stay chasing points every single week. Live in the future with us and this episode, and you're going to be happy. And that's the case with Zach Ertz this week, man. Miami has given up the 5th most receiving yards receiving yards per game to opposing tight ends, and the 7th highest yards per reception and the 3rd most fantasy points per game to tight ends. Zach Ertz is a good play this week.
I mean, even last week with Dalton Kincaid exiting early for the Buffalo Bills, he still had 2 for 37. Dawson Knox, 3 for 37. And Jackson Hawes, the blocking tight end out of Georgia Tech, he also found the end zone. And the week before, we saw the blocking tight end Charlie Kolar for the Baltimore Ravens also find the end zone. Isaiah Likely, how about 3 for 60? Mark Andrews, how about 2 for 22 and 2 touchdowns? So I think there's actually some really sneaky upside here on Zach Ertz. I'm excited to see maybe what he is in the anytime touchdown market, because I think that's a fun way to get invested in this game overseas. So I'm with you here, man. The Dolphins, I think they also, now that they don't have as much pressure coming off the edge with the recent trade to the Philadelphia Eagles, I think Mariota has a little bit more time to work. I think he's a little bit more successful than he has been in previous weeks.
That is a good call on Zach Ertz, and I'm pulling it up right now. I was trying to filibuster a little bit so we didn't have a lag time because, horrible audio and such. Zach Ertz on multiple books right now is plus 195 to plus 200 for an anytime touchdown. You can get the over on his 3.5 receptions. And I mean, dude, I'm spraying the board with Zach Ertz props here. Like the over on his 39.5 receiving yards. Yes, yes, and yes.
Also, who else do they have out there, right? I mean, we have Deebo Samuel. Luke McCaffrey ain't a thing. We can stop trying for that.
Yep.
Jalen Lane is not a thing. Like Zach Ertz.
Chris Moore ain't doing it this week.
No, I mean, rank the Washington skill players this week for me as far as how much you would want to start them. Is it Deebo 1? Is it Ertz 2 and Chris Rodriguez 3? Or how would you flip those?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm right with you. That's where my ranks would be.
I think those are the only guys you can start on that team right now, right?
Agreed. Yes. Okay. Emphatically agree.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to waking up early, catching that one as well. And Derek, great stuff today as always right here on this episode of the Fantasy Pros Fantasy Football Podcast. Comment down below your favorite Week 11 sleeper starts. We want to hear from you. And while you're here, make sure you're smashing that like button. Help us get to 300,000 subscribers as well if you're new. For Derek Brown, I'm Seth Woolcock. Take care, y'all.